Today I'm going to show you how to reforge Thor's hammer. For this build, I used craft foam, floor mat foam, coffee foam, putty, super glue, hot glue, contact cement, a wooden dowel, paint, cutting tools, sanding tools, safety gear, silver rub and buff, blue LEDs, and a magnet. These aren't necessary to build the hammer, but I think it'll come out more fun. Scissors, razor pens, and a box cutter. First, I drew the sides of the hammer onto a floor mat tile. Since I can't change the size of the magnet, I used it as the central detail from which to extrapolate the rest of the dimensions. This is going to make it a little bit bigger than the last hammer that I built, but I don't see a problem with that. I sharpened the blade in order to get a clean cut and cut it into panels to the core of the hammerhead. See, now I can cut that out a lot easier and avoid a great deal of sanding. Look at that. See, that's why I sharpen. I'm gonna have to layer these in order to get the thickness to cut the angle. Normally I'd sand off those puzzle piece remnants, but they're just gonna get chopped off later, so I'm not gonna bother for now. See, that's the thickness that I'm gonna need in order to get the slant cut. Okay, so I'm gonna duplicate these. These are the cutout sides. The top and bottom panels are 6x10 freedom units, and there are 4 of them. The side panels are 4x10 freedom units, and there are only 2. One of the top pieces has to have a hole cut in it, so that the magnet is a little bit inset and doesn't stick out too much from the top. So I traced that and cut it out with the razor pen. Circular cuts are very difficult to come out clean, so I had to go back in and sand out the imperfections with my rotary tool. Then I glued the bottom pieces together, being careful to avoid the edges or the center. I did the same for the top parts. I spaced out the glue like this because I knew that I'd eventually be cutting through the edges and the center, and having glue there would make it much more difficult to cut through. I weighted those down with all of my machinist blocks until the glue solidified. When the glue had cooled, I glued the sides on. I rearranged the machinist blocks to hold the walls upright as the glue sets up. This is actually what they're originally for. Go figure. So if you have the time and ventilation or masks, then you should absolutely use contact cement for this instead of hot glue, because contact cement is stronger, a little bit more flexible, and won't melt if you take your prop to a convention in the summertime. I repeated the step for the other wall. Once that was secured, I glued the top on using significantly fewer machinist blocks so that the whole thing wouldn't collapse. Until the ends are attached, it's going to be very structurally weak. Then I made the ends. They're roughly 4x5 freedom units. The reason they're not perfectly square is because the double thickness of the top and bottom panels combined with the inset sides are going to make them come out a bit rectangular. I glued those in, and there we go, we've got a box. Now to bevel the edges. First, I drew guidelines where I thought the angles should go. To cut down on the amount of sanding that I'd need to do, I first cut out the angles with a sharpened box cutter. You can see that despite my best efforts, it's still coming out a little bit jagged, so I will still have to sand this. However, this is like 10% of the sanding that I'd otherwise have to do. I basically just cut out 90% of the sanding just by trimming it. Like, even if you don't have a box cutter but you have scissors, you can still cut out 20% of the sanding you need to do. You don't want to turn this much foam into dust, for one, because it's messy. 2, you're gonna be breathing that. You don't want this in your lungs. First, I masked up. Then, I knocked the previous project's dust out of the belt using my belt sander cleaner. This is just a block of rubber. I apologize for the angle of this shot, but I'm replacing a light fixture above the belt sander right now, and it's offsetting the camera mount a bit. Because of course that was bothering you just as much as it was bothering me. Curse you, film school degree! This is my gift. This is my curse. Sanding is going to take the vast majority of the amount of time that you're going to spend on this build, but just power through it and you can move on. Before puttying up some of the cracks that are still visible, I added more detail to the top and the bottom. I had to remove one of the ends in order to get the offcut out of there. I added the 2mm craft foam details to the bottom using super glue because hot glue is really overkill. You'd be able to see it through the foam. There are a few areas along the bevels where my knife went a bit too deep. Can't really fix those through sanding, so those are going to be filled back in. I did that with DAP Alex Fast Dry Putty. I've got it in a caulking gun this time. I smeared it flat with a tongue depressor. When I had done this along all of the beveled edges, I set it aside to dry by placing it on a light stand extended all the way up to the ceiling where it was hottest, just to try and speed it up a bit. While that was drying, I worked on the handle. I used a wooden dowel offcut from a previous build as the handle. I cut it down to size with a coping saw. I like these best for wood, for smaller wood pieces. Then I sanded one end on my belt sander. There happened to be a hole already in this dowel from its previous life, presumably as a broom handle, which was lucky because I'm going to need to thread a leather strap through there. This isn't real leather, it's kind of a vinyl that's meant to look like leather, making it a bit stretchy, but it'll work worked just the same. I tied it in a loop and then covered it in craft foam to make the pommel. Then I attached the grip ridges. I gotta admit, this was the most tedious part of the whole project. I think this took as much time as everything else up to this point. I'm using random scrap pieces of craft foam, which is why the colors are all over the place here. But none of that will matter once it's painted. I mean, I guess it would save you some trouble if you were to only use black foam, but I know I'm gonna have to do at least 2 layers, probably 3 or 4, and that's more than enough to cover this up. Then I painted it with gloss brown latex house paint, which will give it the illusion of leather when it dries. Then to make the inlaid pattern, I carved it into the foam with a razor pen and heat formed it with my heat gun. The heat caused the grooves to open up, but just be careful that you don't burn the foam, because it will burn. Now for the cracks. First I drew them directly onto the hammer using a Sharpie. When I was satisfied with the design on all sides, I cut a hole in the bottom for the handle. I did this using a highly sophisticated prop making pipe as a sort of poor man's hole saw. Then I traced the Sharpie lines with my razor pen, being careful not to go all the way through the foam, which honestly is easy because this blade is dulling out at this point. I should probably just replace it. Then I heated up the foam with my heat gun, which will cause the cracks to open up a bit. You don't want to do this too long though, because the foam will burn. Once I'd done this for every side, I set it aside to cool down for a little bit before I continued working on it. I'm gonna have to do a lot more work on the inside before moving on, so I identified a crack that went all the way around the hammer and went back in and cut that all the way through, essentially cutting the hammerhead into 2 halves. One of the things that I need to add to the inside is lighting. I want the light to show through all of the cracks, not just this center one, but I also don't want it to fall apart. I'm hoping this will look like energy. To do this, I'll need to cut holes all the way through some of the cracks, but I'll need to do it strategically so that the light shines through without compromising the structural integrity of the hammer as a whole. To do this, I'm gonna need to use my rotary tool with a sanding disc bit. Now these sanding discs have a tendency to shatter. It shouldn't happen with foam, but it's conceivably possible that it could come into contact with my workbench, which is much more solid. When these discs shatter while spinning, the debris can be very dangerous. It essentially becomes shrapnel. So I'm wearing safety glasses and my heaviest t-shirt. Having way too much fun with this. Hey, how about we get the magnet away from my phone, eh? I was actually using this rotary tool on metal though, at one point in a previous build, and the sparks totally burnt a hole in my shop sweatshirt. Well, the sweatshirt that became my shop sweatshirt because I burnt a hole in it. Don't wear clothes that you like when you're building stuff. FYI. Using the sanding disc also has the added benefit of making the cracks look more jagged and natural to how you would expect to see cracks in rock or a metal mineral. See? Look at that. Already better. Also, as I'm doing this, I'm making sure that the hole on the inside is wider than it is on the outside so that you can see the blue light from more angles. Then I painted the halves. I started with a coat of flat black paint because it dries the fastest and will even out the whole surface so that I could see all of the imperfections. Well, let's be honest, this thing is made of imperfections, but the ones that aren't supposed to be there, like that seam and these areas towards the front where the heat gun melted the foam a bit too much because it was so thin. So I'm gonna have to repair those before giving it another coat. I took care of those and then did a second coat. Before moving on, I added this handle adapter to the bottom of the hammerhead. Then I did a layer of gloss black. So I found that it's cheaper in the long run if you use gloss black latex house paint as a base coat instead of Plastidip, which I've used in most of my EVA foam prop builds. I had to do several layers before I could do the metallic top coat because EVA foam acts like a sponge. It absorbs the first couple layers of paint. Actually, it absorbs the first layer and then the rest are just about erasing the texture. When the halves were dry, I attached the magnet. I drilled a hole in order to get at the button that activates the lights. Then I glued it in. Those were just to keep it from touching the cardboard while the paint was drying. Once again, I'm going to use this hole puncher. It's a leather hole puncher. A lot of leather tools also work for foam. Wow, that one went in super easy. How do I get it out? Oh. Perfect. Okay, that's slightly smaller than the diameter of the screws that I'm using, so that'll stay in there pretty snug. These aren't the same screws that came with this magnet. Luckily enough, I had some with a longer thread stalk. Yeah, that's the right word. Alright, so now we're gonna hot glue that. And just for good measure, so you want this to be glued in tight enough that it doesn't move around, but loose enough that you can get it out when you inevitably need to change the batteries. So there are going to be instances where the hammer is upside down or swinging around, and I can just see this coming loose on the inside. So I've cut these dowel pieces that are the same length as these supports once they're, on top of the power box. I'm going to very lightly glue these in place, and when it's all together, the tension will hold the box in place. Yeah, lightly glue it. Totally. So when I put the two halves together, I want to be able to get back into it without destroying the whole thing. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on each post. And really what's going to be holding the whole thing together is the handle. I'm not going to tell you this is 100% necessary, but just to be on the safe side, I'm blacking out these columns so that they're not visible from the outside. All right, before I do anything with the lights, I want to put the handle in first, just because it's going to be a lot harder if I wait until it's all closed up. I used rub and buff for the metal grip bands, waited a few minutes for them to dry, and slid it into the hammerhead, which immediately made it 1,000 times more difficult to work on. So I built a tower out of machinist blocks and Cascade containers. Is that tempting fate, building a precarious tower out of Cascade containers? Let's find out. Next, I added wax paper to obscure the individual LEDs while still letting the light through. Then I packed all the LEDs inside. After that, I glued the halves together and placed this uniquely shaped machinist block on top to press it together as the glue dried. I suppose I could have done two smaller ones on either side of the handle, but what's done is done. When the glue dried, I metallized the surface using rub and buff. On the last Thor hammer that I built, I used silver spray paint, but something that reflective creates a lot of problems for the camera, so I gotta use something a bit duller this time. Not to mention, the magnet is encased in rubber, which could be partially dissolved by spray paint. An added benefit is you can control the weathering a bit more when you use rub and buff. I waited a few minutes for it to dry, and I was done. And that's how to make Thor's reforged hammer. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this build, then you can subscribe and hit the bell icon to see upcoming builds. Because let's be honest, the subscribe button doesn't do what it used to, and if you actually want to get notified about upcoming builds, then you gotta hit that bell icon. Otherwise, they'll be lost to the infinite scroll of your inbox. Be sure to leave a comment below to let me know what you'd like to see me make next. And lastly, I'd like to thank my patrons, the names scrolling by, who make these videos possible. To actually build something takes a whole lot more time and money. These videos just wouldn't be possible without the support of my patrons. So if you enjoy these builds, want to see more of them, and want your build request to carry a bit more weight, then think about heading on over to the Patreon page, where you can enjoy ad-free early uploads. And if you're not able to support, I think I have hundreds of tutorials at this point, so you can just start the props playlist, and I guarantee I'll have a new upload before you finish. Thanks for watching, happy crafting, see you later.